Hi guys. Alright, so when I was preparing for this video tonight, I realized there's a theme to this, and the theme to this video is basically going to be calling out all the frauds, all the people that pretend to be advocates for sex crime victims and advocates for women's rights and victims' rights. This video is going to be filled with calling out these people as complete and total hypocrites and frauds. I do it often, but there's going to be many called out in this video. Anyways, I'm going to start by discussing some items in Ronan Farrow's new book, Catch and Kill. Ronan Farrow called me the other day and told me that I'm quoted in this book, which I didn't realize until he called, and he actually booked me to go on his podcast, which has been postponed for now. Hopefully not indefinitely. But so anyways, he sent me his book. I was going to read it anyways, but I started reading it. I read it faster than I had planned to read it because I was supposed to go on his show in New York a couple of weeks ago. Anyways, there's a lot of interesting things in his book, and some of them have been in the media. Not all of it has been in the mainstream media, of course, but there's some things in his book that I want to point out, which really explains why stories on powerful people such as Harvey Weinstein and people in the cabal that are engaged in sexual assault, sex trafficking, anyone tied to Pizzagate. His book really sheds light on why these people and how these people are so protected and why stories like this don't get out. So I'm just going to go over some bullet points that I thought were really interesting in his book. Number one, Harvey Weinstein, most people know, was good friends with Hillary Clinton. But one thing that I don't think people really realize is that not only was he good friends with Hillary Clinton, but he literally raised millions of dollars for her campaign. And furthermore, he was so intertwined with her campaign that he was literally advising some of her top people running her campaign. So think about that for a second. This wasn't just someone that Hillary Clinton hung out with at parties and schmoozed with. This is somebody that had access. Not only did he have access to her campaign, he was emailing with people who were top figures on her campaign and advising them and giving them advice on how to run her campaign. And he also was able to raise millions of dollars for her. So, most people have seen the pictures of her with Harvey Weinstein, but he was way more than just a friend or someone that she ran into at parties. He basically had a role in her campaign. So that's how closely linked he was with Hillary Clinton, all right? So there's that. Another interesting item in his book, which has kind of trickled into the mainstream media just a little bit, is that Ronan Farrow had a good rapport with Hillary Clinton and her campaign until he started covering Harvey Weinstein. And when Hillary Clinton's staff found out that he was working on a story exposing Harvey Weinstein for who he really is, which is a serial rapist and sexual predator, they changed their tone with Ronan Farrow. Ronan Farrow actually had a book that was supposed to come out about foreign policy. And before he started investigating Harvey Weinstein, Hillary had agreed to do an interview with him. After she found out that he was investigating her pal / unofficial campaign manager, they decided to kill the interview. So they basically punished him for exposing Harvey Weinstein for the sexual predator that he is, which should come as no surprise because Hillary Clinton has literally spent her entire life covering for sexual predators. If you go back to her first job as a public defender, she defended a child rapist and later laughed in an interview about getting that child rapist a light sentence. And the person who was raped by this man as a child was Kathy Shelton, and it was a horrible, violent rape. And the rape was so brutal that she was left unconscious and was never able to have children after this rape. So, then Hillary went on to targeting all of Bill Clinton's rape victims and harassing them. And, it's well known that she created a war room in the White House to figure out ways to target and silence Bill Clinton's sexual assault victims, including Juanita Broderick, who has talked about this and called Hillary Clinton out for this. So, it should come as no surprise that when she found out that Ronan Farrow was doing an expose exposing Harvey Weinstein, she canceled an interview with him because she's literally dedicated her whole entire life to protecting child rapists and sexual predators. That's a fact. And you guys all know what they were really doing at the Clinton Foundation, which was trafficking children. So of course she's going to protect her people because she is one. So another interesting thing I found out about in this book is that Lisa Bloom, who is Gloria Allred's daughter. Okay, so Gloria Allred, I'm sure most of you know who she is. Gloria Allred is a lawyer who claims to be a lawyer for victims and sexual assault victims, and she's all about women's rights and does advocacy for women's issues, right? Well, her daughter has claimed the same things as an attorney as well. She's an attorney as well. Ronan Farrow was family friends with Lisa Bloom, and when he was covering the Harvey Weinstein story, he actually reached out to her to get some legal advice from her as a friend on this story and what kind of legal repercussions he could face if he did actually break the Weinstein story and whatnot. Lisa Bloom promised him that everything that they discussed would be confidential and that he could trust her. Well, she ended up working as a double agent and stabbing him in the back, and everything that he told her, she went behind his back and told Harvey Weinstein. And then she proceeded to make a deal with Harvey Weinstein and ended up working for him. And then she ended up actually working with Harvey Weinstein to target his sex crime victims. So again, going back to the theme of this video, this just goes to show how disgusting all of these people are. This is an attorney who prides herself as being a champion for women's rights and for victims, and she actually worked with a serial rapist to target his victims. I would love to know how much money he paid her to do that. It also should be noted that Lisa Bloom is the attorney that was paying women money to accuse President Trump of sexual assault. That's not detailed here in Ronan's book, unfortunately. I wish it would be. But that's a story that no one in the mainstream media really has covered, that all these women that have accused President Trump of sexual assault, if not all of them, the majority of them, because I looked into all of them, were paid off. And they were asked to lie. And most of these women are aligned with the Clintons, and they are not credible. And some of these women actually praised Donald Trump for years until the 2016 election, because, like I said, most of them, if not all of them, were paid off and or forced to lie and accuse President Trump of horrible things that he did not do, often for money. So, this whole situation with Lisa Bloom and Ronan Farrow, it just goes to show you what happens when you expose a powerful person. And I know this because I've been dealing with this for years now. When you expose powerful people, especially people involved in rape, child sex trafficking, you name it, it's unbelievable the amount of people in your life that will turn their back on you, for money. And reading this book was so enlightening to me because I cannot tell you how many people in my life some people who worked for me, some people who were supposed to have my best interest at heart because they worked for me, some people who I thought were friends. I can't tell you how many people have turned on me and stabbed me in the back for money or whatever. And I can't even talk about a lot of it because a lot of these situations have turned into legal matters. So that's frustrating for me because I get attacked all the time and a lot of people wonder certain things about me, and there are some things that have happened in my life as a result of me having the courage to tell the truth about Pizzagate that I can't talk about. So anyways, another interesting thing in his book is Ronan Farrow. This is a spy thriller, and he talks about how he was targeted by agents working for Black Cube, and Black Cube is an agency that hires former Mossad agents to do intelligence work on people like Ronan Farrow, who are exposing powerful people. And again, one of the reasons why this book was so relatable to me is because I know that there's been a ton of people who've been paid to infiltrate my life and to target me. Some of them are Mossad agents. And a lot of the things that Ronan Farrow went through covering the Harvey Weinstein story, I've been going through and I'm still going through to this day. So, if you guys want some insight into what it is like to expose someone powerful and the kinds of things that I've had to deal with in my own life, this sheds a lot of light on that. His book, Catch and Kill. And okay, and I don't think I said this in the beginning, but the reason why I'm in Ronan's book is because my former boss from a media company I worked at years ago, who's mentioned frequently in this book, he was also working with Harvey Weinstein to target and harass Harvey Weinstein's victims so they would be silenced. And so that's where I come into play in this book, because I talked to Ronan about this person who I worked for. And when I worked for this person at the time, I don't believe at that point in time, because it was years ago, he was working then with Harvey Weinstein back then. I don't think he was, but there was other insight that I was able to offer Ronan, and that's why I mentioned in the book. It's towards the very end, and it's not really I'm not really that big of a part of his story, but nonetheless. Anyway, so it's a good book. Wish Ronan would cover Pizzagate, but no, he doesn't cover Pizzagate. He does great work exposing Harvey Weinstein, and I have no reason to believe that there's nothing in that book that isn't accurate. There are some things that I don't agree with on him and in the book, but I do believe that he did a good job exposing Weinstein, and he was met with a lot of opposition from NBC when he was trying to get the story out there. And again, it's not a secret that NBC refused to break the story, and they basically fired him for covering the Harvey Weinstein story. But you can read all about that in the book. Since his book has come out, which was a few weeks ago, it has come out that the CEO of NBC is now resigning. So that is Steve Burke. I'm trying to find the post on it. All right, this came out a few days ago, December 12th. NBC Universal CEO Steve Burke stepped down in 2020. Yeah, Ronan Farrow talks about him in his book. What does he say about him? He says that Steve Burke was basically in Weinstein's pocket, and it sounds like Steve is one of the major reasons why they did not go forward with the Weinstein story. Oh, here's the last thing I wanted to mention that I thought was super interesting about Ronan Farrow's book. So, Rose McGowan, I've talked about her before. This is what I just find to be completely mind-blowing. So, in Ronan Farrow's book, he talks about how Hillary Clinton refused to give him an interview that she already agreed to because he was exposing Harvey Weinstein, okay? Well, one of the main people that came out and blew the whistle on Harvey Weinstein was Rose McGowan. And, hold on, I'm just trying to find the quote. Okay. So, here it is. All right. On page 31 in his book, he's talking about Rose, and he was in constant contact with her. All right, so Ronan's talking to Rose, and this is what she says. Nobody's covered what Hillary losing means to women, she said. The war against women is real. This is ground zero. She talked unflinchingly and far more specifically than in her tweets about her allegation that Weinstein had raped her. So she's going on to Ronan about how important it is that Hillary Clinton should win. And while she's doing this, Hillary Clinton is doing everything she can to make sure that the story about the man that sexually assaulted her doesn't get out. And she's best friends with the man that sexually assaulted her, who was Harvey Weinstein. And this is the stuff that is just so mind-blowing to me, and it's obvious to me this is why she was made one of the faces of the Me Too movement, because she still was protecting Hillary Clinton. Even though Hillary Clinton was doing everything that she can to protect Harvey Weinstein, the man that sexually assaulted her, she still is championing for Hillary Clinton. Now, recently she has backtracked and said that she no longer supports Hillary Clinton, but all this stuff was out about Hillary Clinton years ago. Everybody knew that Hillary Clinton was good friends with Weinstein. Everybody knew that Hillary Clinton has spent her entire career, covering for rapists such as her husband. I mean, so it's just so mind-blowing to me that people could be victims of a sexual assault but still be supporting the woman that is protecting their rapist. It's insane. It's just beyond insane to me. And yet Trump says the word pussy and it's the end of the world to these people. They are just so deranged, and it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's just so unbelievable. And then the last thing that is talked about in this book that I wanted to talk about is that Ronan does talk about Asia Argento, who was also propped up and made the face of the Me Too movement, but Asia, which has come out, sexually assaulted a minor and had to pay that person off. So we have Rose as the face of the Me Too movement, who is, during that whole movement, was going on and on about Hillary and was pro-Hillary and was all about getting Hillary elected, even though she was protecting her rapist. And then you have Asia Argento, who's the face of the Me Too movement, and she's a pedophile. Okay, so it's just... All right, so the other topics I wanted to cover, so it came out, let's see, so the Daily Mail did an exclusive story. Bill Clinton was Jeffrey Epstein's closest celebrity mate and a frequent guest at his New Mexico ranch with wife Hillary, staying at the pedophile cowboy-themed village, says estate workers. So, sorry, this is timed out again. We all know that Bill Clinton went to Pedophile Island, and so did Hillary Clinton. I've reported that over and over and over again. And this is just more evidence that they were close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and they went to the places where he was trafficking children. So they were frequent guests at his New Mexico ranch. This actually includes Chelsea Clinton. I've never heard of Chelsea going to Epstein's Island. I don't know if she has or not. I haven't seen any proof of that, but here's proof that she was at his ranch in New Mexico. So, you know, I'm on Twitter, and Chelsea actually, and I would go back and forth sometimes, but I would love for you guys to ask Chelsea what the hell she was doing at pedophile and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's ranch on multiple occasions, according to this Daily Mail report. I can't ask her. She doesn't have an Instagram, so I can't go on Instagram and tag her, but you guys can. So I would love to hear what she has to say about that. And that ranch has been reported to be a baby-making ranch. Epstein was trying to create his own race of people with his DNA. Yes, these people were not only into child sex trafficking, they were into Nazi era type experiments with DNA, human cloning, torture experiments, MK Ultra, mind control experiments, and that's what he was doing at his Mexico ranch, in addition to torturing, raping, and trafficking children. And that actually has made it out in the mainstream media. Okay, so I actually just said everybody knows that the Clintons have gone to Epstein's Island, and now they know that they also went to Epstein's Mexico ranch. But I will tell you, someone who doesn't know or pretends that they don't know, another fraud I'm about to expose, is James Patterson. So Jesse Waters has been doing a great job covering the Epstein story. And he had James Patterson on his show a few weeks ago talking about the Epstein case. James Patterson not only wrote a book about Epstein, he actually hired a whole team of investigators to look into Jeffrey Epstein. Well, he went on Jesse Waters' show and said with a straight face that, number one, he believes that Epstein did kill himself. Seriously, bro, literally no one, no Democrat, no Republican, there's not one person in the world that believes Epstein killed himself, and the fact that you just said that on national TV is so embarrassing. Not only did he say that, he actually said that despite writing an entire book on Epstein, and you know, he's this award-winning author, like multi-gazillionaire, just Google his homes, you'll see how rich he is, how much money he's made off his books. He hired a whole team of investigators to look into Epstein, yet found no proof that there was any link between him and the Clintons. I was reporting on the official flight records of the Lolita Express, which is Epstein's plane, having Bill Clinton's name on it many, many times years ago. And this wasn't classified information. These flight logs were open source information. They've been open source information for years. So for him to go on Jesse Waters' show and just sit there and lie to everyone like that is just, again, it's like the theme of this video is frauds. And, you know, I guess what I'm trying to get people to understand in this video is that you have people out there, okay, pretending to be exposing the Epsteins of the world, exposing the Weinsteins of the world, but they're not. They're frauds. What they do is they do this kind of like bait and switch type situation, or kind of like look over here but don't look over here. So when you have someone like Rose McGowan, you know, exposing Weinstein, she's also trashing Trump, who we know is the one that is taking down these pedophiles. He's the reason people like Weinstein are getting exposed, are getting prosecuted. He's the reason why Epstein got arrested and is also getting exposed. So, you know, you have her exposing Weinstein, but then she's still attacking Trump, and then she's supporting Hillary Clinton, who is protecting Weinstein. Fraud. these people are frauds. Like, they selectively expose certain people and certain aspects of the sex trafficking to just distract you. Okay, so if you have someone that's pretending to expose Epstein, but then fails to expose other pedophiles or the whole network and all the people involved in it, then there's something wrong there. They're frauds. And again, like, Patterson is someone that has been covering Epstein for years, yet he claims there's no ties between him and Bill Clinton. The guy is not stupid. He knows that there's very, very close ties between Epstein and the Clintons. I mean, there's evidence everywhere of it. Like, Waters just had one of the pilots from the Lily Express on his show talking about how he saw Bill Clinton on the plane many times. I mean, so these people they're distractions. That they will give you a little bit of truth, and then they muddy the waters and then give you lies. And that's strategic. They do that to confuse you, to muddy the waters, to throw you off, to confuse you, and it's very frustrating. So, speaking of another fraud, Leah Remini. I was so disgusted the other night, and I've been suspect of Leah Remini. She's, whenever it seems that there's someone big exposing sex trafficking and they seem to be doing good work, there's always something that comes out that exposes who they really are. So Leah Remini did the Scientology show, or the show, I should say, that exposed Scientology, which did include exposing the pedophilia that goes on there and the child sex trafficking that goes on in Scientology. And the other day, she accepted an award from none other than Chelsea Handler. Well, we know that Chelsea Handler was dating the owner of the Standard Hotel, and we all know that the Standard Hotel was used to traffic children. And furthermore, Chelsea Handler was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So Leah Remini gets an award for exposing Scientology, handed to her by Chelsea Handler, who's best friends with the most prolific child sex trafficker in the world, who is Jeffrey Epstein. Now, if Leah Remini was the real deal, would she really be accepting an award and praising someone like Chelsea Handler, who is good friends with these traffickers and dated someone who ran a hotel where children were being trafficked? No, I don't think so. So again, it just goes to show that, there's so many people in media in Hollywood, and it does seem that some of these people are doing good work. I liked Leah's show. I thought she was doing good work. But here she is praising someone that has close relationships with people who are trafficking children. And who also hates President Trump, of course, and, freaked out about him using the P word as well. But she has no problems being friends with child rapists. You just can't make this stuff up. Okay, so more frauds. Let's talk about some more frauds. Oprah. Okay, so this is interesting. 50 Cent, Russell Simmons slammed Oprah over upcoming sexual misconduct documentary. All right, so what they're saying is that 50 Cent said, "I don't understand why Oprah is going after black men. No Harvey Weinstein, no Epstein, just Michael Jackson, Russell Simmons. This shit is sad." All right. I'm not a fan of 50 Cent. I'm definitely not a fan of Russell Simmons, because I have a friend that told me a firsthand account of how he attempted to rape her, and the story was absolutely horrifying. I have no reason not to believe her or any of his victims for that matter. But, they have a very good point with Oprah. We know that Oprah was good friends with John of God. And she also made John of God famous. And John of God was her spiritual guru, who has been arrested for trafficking and murdering hundreds of children. Okay? So there's that with Oprah. We also know that Oprah was good friends with Harvey Weinstein as well. She knew exactly what was going on with Harvey Weinstein. Not only that, one of his victims claimed that he used Oprah to procure her. He used her and her name and her influence to procure her. And I don't want to get into a whole thing about Oprah, but the other thing I want to say about Oprah, I mean, she has tons of ties to pedophiles in Hollywood and trafficking and whatnot. But the one last thing I will point out about Oprah, who's also a fraud, because a fraud, as Oprah would say, you're a fraud, you're a fraud, you're a fraud. Oprah, you're a fraud. Is that, of course she's selectively covering certain, pedophiles and rapists. But the other thing I want to point out about Oprah is that she had many problems with sexual abuse at her school, including a dead baby found in a backpack. Think about that. A baby dead in one of her students' backpacks at her school, where there was rampant sexual abuse. So what was really going on at her school in Africa? Yeah. So, 50 Cent, Russell Simmons, I'm clearly not a fan of either of them, but they have a point calling out Oprah, who is also a fraud herself. The other story I wanted to talk about is there was a story that came out talking about how Epstein was working for Israeli intelligence. I don't know why I can't find it right now. I'll Google it. It came out. I think it was on the Daily Mail as well. Oh, no, it's right here. Okay, it was True Pundit. CBS News executive went on the record and said Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell worked for Israeli intelligence. And I posted about this, and I just pointed out that this means that people paying taxes in Israel were funding this. They were funding child sex trafficking. They were funding Jeffrey Epstein. So that's something to know. And I also wanted to mention it to go back to Ronan Farrow's book. As I mentioned earlier, Weinstein hired former Mossad agents to cover for him. So we have Mossad agents covering for Weinstein. We have Epstein working for Mossad. And I know in my own life that I have been targeted by Mossad agents as well. So, why does Q always say saving Israel for last? I think that Israel is at the top of these child sex trafficking networks, and they would have the most interest in targeting and silencing people like me, and apparently Ronan Farrow too. Okay, one more story I want to talk about. Okay, so there was a sex trafficking victim who sued the Hyatt in federal lawsuit a few days ago for failing to intervene while she was trapped at their hotel since the age of 4. So think about that. Now, here's a connection I made that I don't think anyone else made. And this is why I do the work I do, because there's a lot of news that comes out, but there's a lot of connections to be made with a lot of the child sex trafficking stories that come out, that a lot of people don't cover this as much as I do, so they don't know. But the Hyatt Hotel, who is the CEO of the Hyatt Hotel? Well, it's Thomas Pritzker. And Thomas Pritzker is not only good friends with Epstein, he's in Epstein's black book, and he's in his flight logs on his plane, I believe, to the island. So he's been to pedophile islands. And then furthermore, Virginia Giuffre, who was one of Epstein's victims, said in a deposition that she was forced to have sex with Pritzker. All right? So, think about that. The Hyatt's being sued for sex trafficking. And the CEO of the Hyatt is best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And not only that, he's been on his plane, and he's been to his islands, and he's been accused of raping a minor. So what else was going on at the Hyatt? Like, how often was the Hyatt used to traffic children? And was the Hyatt used as a place for the elites to rape, torture, and traffic kids? Okay. And if you do a search of the Hyatt Hotel on qmap.pub, you will see that Q has mentioned the Hyatt in relation to Hillary Clinton. So that's interesting as well. And then there's one more thing I wanted to just real briefly discuss. It came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. Someone went on Akoon and wrote, "I'm on in 20, we'll say farce." And then sure enough, 21 minutes later, Laura Ingraham said on her show farce, and when she said farce, she made a point of really saying it boldly, I guess we'll just say. Anyways, I'm bringing this up because, you know, is Laura an anon? Is she that anon? I mean, I have no way of knowing for sure, but what is interesting is that Laura Ingraham, which I've reported many times before, she's the only person literally in the entire mainstream media that has reported on her show on Fox News Channel that in the IG report on page 294, which came out in April of 2018, that it stated that the Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation were involved in crimes against children. She's the only one. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's an anon. And God bless her for covering that when literally no one else did and no one else has to this day. All right, so that's that. That's all I really wanted to cover today. And I just wanted to say, if you guys like my work and you want to be able to support me, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on my YouTube channel, and I realized I need to start doing this. And YouTube has not allowed me to post my Patreon or PayPal on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel gets heavily censored, which a lot of you guys have figured out because you talk about it in the comments a lot. But anyways, if you like my journalism and you want to support my work, you can at paypal.me/Liz Crokin. I'm on patreon.com as well, patreon.com/Liz Crokin as well. And I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this in my YouTube videos before. I can't remember if I have. I might have. But I do sell the Q hats that I designed. And this one was featured on Fox News Channel when I went to the rally in Dallas. And I try to post a link to it on my YouTube channel, and of course it was censored. So anyways, if you want to buy one of my Q hats, I'm selling t-shirts as well and some other products, but you can purchase these hats at liz-crokin.myshopify.com, or you can just go on shopify.com and type in my name and my store should pop up. So all right, everyone, that is it for now.